I just want to welcome everybody to the final financial seminar that our generous friends at the University Credit Union have provided for us. This month is going to be on preparing for retirement, which I think everybody hopes to do one day, but how to get there is the question. And so we have Brett Leonhardt here. He's a financial advisor with University Financial Services. He's a full-service wealth management organization dedicated to assisting successful business owners, executives, professionals, and retirees in developing comprehensive solutions regarding wealth decisions. His education and experience is a Master of Business Administration from Westminster College, so just across the road from us. A Bachelor of Arts in Economics from the University of Utah, which we heavily support. And then over 20 years of experience in the financial services industry. So, Brett, we're super happy to have you here, and the floor is yours.
And he's a really good basketball player.
Used to could. Those are my old days, I guess. Thank you. I appreciate it. Well, it's good to be on here with everybody. Appreciate your time. So, Todd, you had some things. Is that at the tail end, or tell me?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Well, and is there an expectation of how long you want me to take, or just kind of? I
don't know, 20, 25 minutes.
Yeah, perfect. Maybe I don't want to, get people's eyes rolling back in their head and that kind of thing, which can happen with this topic. So we'll move through it and go from there. So I'm going to try to share my screen. Hopefully that will work. Let's see if I share the right one here. Share. Okay, so can you guys see like a thing with Mount Everest in it?
Yes.
Yep. Awesome. Okay, so we're going to talk about income planning. We're going to liken it to Mount Everest here a little bit. So, which has been in the news lately. I think there was actually a good friend of mine, actually the guy who represents this company that I have on here. I don't know if there's a gentleman who loved the Utes who passed away last year, I believe, climbing Mount Everest. Some of you may have known him. And the guy who represents this company that I'm kind of using this slide from, it was, I think, his neighbor. And I think there's a lady right now over there on Everest from Utah, Park City area climbing. So a lot of local connections. But this first slide kind of shows you most people, if you would ask them, what's the most dangerous part of Everest? I don't know. You may get different answers. You may get climbing up and going over all these crevasses and ice fields and things. But the most dangerous part is actually the descent. It's once you've made it up at the top and you're coming back down. And so we're going to liken this just a little bit to income planning for retirement. So right now, and I'm not sure of all the ages and everybody on here, if we have how diverse of a crowd we have. Let me go to this next screen. Yeah, so I'll kind of flip back and forth between these. This one's more geared towards income planning. So someone who's probably within 5 or so years of retirement. But for us, for me, and for the rest of us, we're still over here in this, in this green arrow on this upward trend right now. Frankly, I think that's kind of, it's pretty simple, so to speak, if we just do the things that are available to us. So hopefully those that are obviously anyone that's working at the U, hopefully you have, your 401k or 403b or something of that nature to be contributing to. Hopefully you are doing that. So that is this upward arrow. And we would liken that. We're going to call that an accumulation vehicle. And I'm going to flip down to this next screen right here. These are risks in retirement. A lot of these things are actual benefits while you're young and while you're saving. So, sometimes people talk about, we look on here and we see, market volatility and inflation and all these kind of longevity and things of that nature, market timing. When you're younger and you've got 15, 20, 25, 30 years to go, like maybe a lot of us, those things actually are helpful. So when the market's volatile, it's not actually a bad thing when you're young, because, if you have just a systematic purchase going in from your paycheck and things like that, it's going to be buying on those down cycles. And then that's a benefit for you over the long term. So my big thing, just if you're younger, if you're not super close to that retirement window, is just do something. And if you need help with that, talk to me. My information is available through the credit union or anybody. But you know, set up an IRA, set up a Roth, make sure you're contributing at your place of employment. You know, and then the next biggest thing is just making sure that I've seen over 20 years, folks that have no debt or little debt at retirement are in the best shape. And because then all of their income sources, even if it's maybe not a lot, all of their income can go to providing for their needs and the things that they want to do. The caveat with that is always lifestyle. So it depends on what kind of lifestyle you want to have in retirement, and if you want to be living on the golf course at the country club every day, or what you plan on doing. So you need to plan for that. But main thing is just to do it, just to save. So let's talk about that descent, right? So once you hit that top, all these risks that we mentioned on this next page, they start to become a lot bigger deal. So this first one, I'll kind of browse through some things here. I won't do the full thing. It takes about 45 minutes. I'm just going to kind of be picking through it. So if it seems like I'm jumping around, it's just because I'm just jumping around on the spot here, trying to do this in 10, 15 minutes. So, you know, longevity. So this obviously is a big issue nowadays. Some of the reasons why, you know, Social Security, well, we won't get into the political aspects of why Social Security has its issues, but one of the main issues of why Social Security has its issues is because we're just simply living longer. When Social Security first was enacted and came out, to be able to get it at 65, you were already pretty much at life expectancy or over life expectancy by a couple of years. And so now you've got, you know, this next frame, you've got, if, you know, and there it is. So 1960, your average, and that was even after, you know, that was 20 years after Social Security came out. You know, this was, you know, in 1960, it was 69, just under 70. Now we're 85. So people are living longer, and it just wasn't meant to be paying for that many people in retirement. It's the same thing that we've all seen. You know, it's not recent anymore, but it's probably been 5 years or so now. You know, all these big companies have done away with their pension plans. Same concept as Social Security. You know, the biggest one that makes the most sense is like GM, right? General Motors. When they came out and announced, you know, we just can't continue to pay this to retirees in retirement. We're paying more in retirement benefits than we are paying for steel to build new cars. That's a problem if you're a car maker, that you're, you know, paying out more in retirement benefits than you are for building new vehicles. And so longevity is a major issue. How are we going to make your money last? The next one is, and this is the biggest one. This is probably where I'm going to focus right now, because market volatility and this fancy term, if you can see it on there, it's called sequence of returns. All that means is, and I mentioned it kind of at the beginning, if you're young, sequence of returns can help you. So that's on those dips when the market goes down, money goes in and funds an account. That's a good thing, because now you're buying low and it will go higher over time. If you're in retirement, it's just the opposite. Think if you're 65 or 70 or, you know, 75 and you're taking money out. Let's say you're taking 3 to 5% out, which is kind of the average of what you kind of should take out so that it lasts for your lifetime, 3 to 5%. Let's say you're taking out 5% in a particular year, and let's say the market drops 10 or 15 or 20% that year. You know, you can do the math. If it drops 15% and you've taken out 5, all of a sudden you look at your statement from one year to the next, and it's now down 20% from what it was the year prior. You can understand why people panic when we get in these big market corrections and they see their accounts dropping, and you literally see hundreds of thousands of dollars potentially evaporate. And so that can be sequence of returns. People that have retired over the last 5, 6, 7 years, they've had no problems because they've all retired into an up market. They're retiring, they're taking money out, pretty much what they're taking out is being made back because the market's been growing. But we know that markets always cycle around. It'll always change. And so at some point, we're going to get into these negative sequencer returns, and it will bring back a lot of stress and concern for folks. And so that's kind of what this talks about here. Sequence of returns obviously can reduce your income over time, may deteriorate your underlying assets. And if you panic and sell, then you actually lock in those losses, which is what you don't want to do. But people get to that point and they just do it. The next one here we'll talk about as well, because this is an issue right now, is inflation. In my forever, I've always called it the silent eye, because for the last 10 or 15 years, you mention inflation to people and they look at you like you're crazy. Like, there's no inflation. I'd never seen inflation. CPI doesn't even change it. Again, we won't get into that discussion. They pretty much have calculated out everything that is basic needs for living. I would dare say that, obviously we won't do the hand raising things. We're not together in a room or whatever, but if you've been to the pump lately, inflation. If you've been to the grocery store lately, inflation. If you've been to a restaurant recently, inflation. Fast food, especially. I was looking for my data. I had it, but I believe about a year ago, a little bit pre-pandemic. Hopefully we'll get so far past this. We don't have to use those words anymore. I hate the P word and the other one that begins with the COVID. I just want to stick away from those things. But pre-COVID, pre-pandemic, you could go to In-N-Out and get the double combo. And if you went now, it's gone up about 25%, 30% over the last year. Beef has gone up tremendously. So, inflation is out there, whether people want to believe it or not. It's a real thing. And where do a lot of people have their money sitting? They have it sitting in savings or CDs. And what's that paying right now? It's paying 0.1, 0.2. So that is not keeping pace with inflation. So these are all major things that are going to affect everybody in retirement. Again, if you're younger, get that money where the only place it's going to outpace inflation is in the market. Just set something up and start it. And if you just get in the habit of doing a little bit every week or every month, then you're going to be great come retirement. And if you're at or nearing retirement, then again, that's what I'm for, is to help people plan for that. And I have investment solutions and tools to help with inflation, help with sequence of returns, help to guarantee your income, all those kinds of things. Okay, so inflation, major issue. This gets into, I mentioned as we started, lifestyle is a big deal. So you have to kind of think things through about, how do I see myself living in retirement? What kind of life do I want to lead at that point? This is, that's kind of what we just talked about. There's going to be different costs. Healthcare is another one that inflation, from an inflationary standpoint, is going up incredibly high. So one place you can always start is you just kind of start with, you can think of it like a pyramid or however you want. At the base of that pyramid are your needs. So you just kind of always want to drill down to, what are my monthly needs? I always use the word bogey. What am I trying to target? What's my bogey each month that I'm trying to hit? I've got to pay car and auto insurance and homeowners insurance and internet bill and cell phone bill and dish or whatever it might be. You've got to pay these. And I guess you might debate whether or not they're needs or wants, but a lot of those things are pretty basic things that we have. Basic food and clothing and shelter, all that kind of stuff. Then you get into discretionary, which would be wants. And again, on some of those things, I know I've been doing this long enough that I understand that sometimes they bleed over a little bit into each other. We can't be, cardboard cutouts walking around. We're people, we have emotions, we have needs and wants and desire. We want to do things, we want to travel or go on vacation or get a mountain bike or whatever, right? Those things are important. But keep in mind, they fall somewhere on that list that we all need to kind of figure out what our needs, wants, and wishes are. So then what we do when we plan when we're planning for income in retirement, we're always going to start with, well, what are my known sources of income? Currently, depending on how old or young you are, Social Security may or may not be a known source of income. We'll have to see what changes. I'm not predicting doom and gloom here. It may change in some way, shape, or form, but it certainly can't or won't go away. Or we'll have just, millions of destitute people in the streets. So I can't see that happening. So it may certainly change, right? It's going to change the age you can start, how much you get, all those kinds of things, but we'll see how that works. So if you have Social Security, if you're lucky enough to have a pension, those types of things are going to be the foundation of your income. And hopefully those are going to cover your essential expenses. And this is kind of the drill that I work through with people, where we put pen to paper and we start writing and making a list of those things and those numbers. And a lot of people don't do it just because it's so tedious and whatever, but I'm kind of here. I'm that little bird on your shoulder that just kind of keeps chirping at you to get it done. Because if you don't, then you kind of don't have the equation here. You may have some income sources and some expenses, and then you're wondering, well, why am I going negative every month or whatever? You maybe have this income gap. And so that's what we need to solve for, to find out when you're planning for retirement. Well, do I have an income gap? And if so, what is it? How much is it? And how am I going to overcome it? And then that's the purpose for, right now, when you're saving in your 401k, your 403b, your 457, whatever it might be, that's those, if you're saving in an IRA, if you're saving in a Roth, if you're just saving in a regular type of an account, those are all things then are going to be utilized to come in and help to overcome that income gap. So hopefully I'm not going through all of that too quickly. This last one kind of shows then what I do. This is then that process that I sit down and I go through with people, where we gather that information. We find out what they have going on. I help them understand Social Security, and you can always, anyone can go on and sign up for an account on Social Security. I'd recommend you do that. When you do that, make sure you give yourself some time. Don't do that in a crunch or in a panic. It's one of those websites that is pretty tedious, and it will ask you questions that you will wonder, how in the world do they know this, and why should they know this? It's a little scary. It's kind of like when you get a loan and stuff. You have a brown Pinto in 1983, and you're just like, how do they know these things? So you have to be able to answer those questions to get onto Social Security. But once you do, you can go in there and you can see your estimated amounts and your ages of retirement. So that's important to do. Then I help do what we just talked about, performing a retirement income analysis, where we start talking about what are your needs, what are your wants, how much money do you need, what's that bogey that you're trying to hit. If you have a gap, how much is that gap on your bogey? And then we come up with a solution to how are we going to hit that bogey each month, make your money last for retirement. And then once we get that done, it's not done forever. So then we're going to monitor and adjust that plan normally on an annual basis. So I'm going to meet with folks and we're going to talk about what they've got going on, if there's any changes, and make sure we're, staying ahead of the curve on those types of things. So in a nutshell, that is income planning. Again, depending on your stage, I'm here to help anybody. So if there's anybody who wants or has questions, if you're in the accumulation stage, younger, I'm certainly here to help you talk and set up some things there. If you're in that 5-year window, so don't think that, oh, I'm still 5 or so years out. That's kind of the perfect time where you should really be thinking about stuff. Because again, think about, if we go back to that sequence of returns, I personally think, if the markets are at or near kind of all-time highs, it's probably a good time to maybe lock some of those gains in, plan for what your retirement's going to look like, protect against any potential market declines in the future, but still allow your money to grow and keep pace with inflation. So that is what I do. hopefully this chart just kind of showed you some things visually of stuff that we look at and how we do it. Under questions, if we were in a room, I would have just made the joke that I just sucked all the air out of the room. I was just talking so much. So I apologize for that, but questions on any of that? It was so good. I've answered everyone's questions they've ever had on this. That is good to know.
You're
That's why
really
Todd
right.
had me come on.
I think for some of us, it's hard to ask questions if we haven't gone through these steps before. So what
Sure.
are the right questions to ask? I'm actually going through this process right now with someone, and it's a lot of information to take in, and you guys put together quite an elaborate program to be able to help people achieve their goals.
Right. Absolutely. Yep. And we're all in different stages. So you're right. And I've had people say that a lot too. So I don't even know what questions to ask. And so well, that's great that you're going through that. Did you know that we offered those services at the credit union before you did that?
I was familiar with it, and I have not this. This is a friend dropping somebody on me. So
nice.
That's the reason why I'm going through it.
Yeah. Well, no worries. And not to put you on the spot.
I probably wouldn't even go through it right now in full disclosure if it weren't for the fact that that happened.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's important you're doing it, so that's great. And that was more of my check on marketing, making sure they're getting the word out there, because we're somewhat new. I mean, like we kind of talked about, I'm not new to this industry. I've been doing it a long time, but the credit union realized about 3 years ago that they weren't offering this service to their members and they were having to go elsewhere. And so we've only been here in the credit union about 3 years now, 3.5 years or 3 years. And one of those years we can liken to the blip in Avengers, right? Where it just kind of disappeared and didn't really do anything. So yeah, so we're here. If you ever need a second opinion or want to look at anything, there's never any harm in that. And that's what I'm here for. So for you, for anybody else, and there's me, there's also another guy, his name's Mike Stringham. So there's two of us. So we're here to cover your needs and help you out. Yeah, that's just all part of it. Credit union family feel. So
we're nowhere close to any resolution with this other group. I've only had 2 conversations with them. So
oh yeah,
there you go.
Well, and it's great. It's important. I didn't mean to put you on the spot with that. It's great. Again, it's important to have a good relationship wherever you have it. So if you ever want another opinion, great. If not, the fact that you're doing it is the important thing.
Hey, Brad, I know that it's never too young you're never too young to start saving. Is there a certain percentage that you should put away, even, if you're in college, if you're a college student or even high school? What's the?
Yeah, great question. I've always said, and it depends, hopefully places are starting to match again. I know a lot of places kind of froze that. For sure, if you're working someplace, for sure, try to get involved in their retirement plan and at minimum do whatever you need to do to get their match. That's just free money that's sitting out there. Usually on average, that's anywhere between like 3% and 6%, something like that. So for sure, make sure you're doing that. I've always told folks, if you can do upwards of about 10% to pay yourself, I think that's a really great thing. What I kind of do is, and I kind of have people separate that. So again, if you do about 5%, maybe pre-tax or something into your 401k to get a match, then maybe try to set something else up to have 3 to 5% of your paycheck go into a savings account. And so why do we do that? I always kind of talk about buckets. So if these are a bucket, one's my retirement bucket, that money that I'm putting into my retirement plan, that's kind of got a lot of golden handcuffs on it, right? It's kind of locked down. If I take it out, I'm going to get taxed and penalized on it. But so that other bucket, you want to also build as well. So initially that first bucket, if you're young, might just be an emergency fund. So if you're young and in college or just married or something, you build that emergency fund, because if you don't already know, you'll know very quickly that tires need replaced and hot water heaters go out and all these things happen. The car breaks down and someone drops the phone in the blender or whatever, and it just always happens at the wrong time. And so having that emergency fund is super important. And then as that emergency fund gets bigger, obviously you just need a baseline of that. Now you'll have extra that you can also get going in some type of investment account. So you start to build these two buckets, one that's in the retirement, kind of behind the retirement wall, but there's certain benefits with that. One outside of that retirement wall, there's benefits with that. So if you can kind of start to build both of those a little bit equally at the same time, that's great. Just each person just needs to kind of run through their finances and say, well, what can I tolerate, so that I make all my needed payments and then do it like that. But hopefully it's somewhere between the 3 to 10% range initially. And obviously I've met folks that are older that feel like they haven't saved enough, and they obviously boost it way up. Sometimes they're way up over 10%, but you have to work up to that sometimes. Good question. Any others?
Brett,
Yeah.
what do you think about for a Roth or a traditional IRA? Is that something that you recommend, or you prefer they put it in like a pension?
Yep. Awesome question, for sure. So again, if you're someplace where you have a 401k, I'm always going to say do that, even if it's not a Roth. Even though it's pre-tax, it's okay. There's some advisors out there that make all these marketing claims and radios, 401ks are the boogeyman and all this kind of stuff. I can't stand those things, quite honestly. They're just trying to scare people into their offices and do stuff. So for sure, always do a 401k, but a Roth IRA, absolutely. And the younger you're able to start a Roth, the better. The younger you can get money in there. I could bore you and again, make your eyes roll back in your head, but there's all kinds of charts that could show that, if you can get a ton of money in there, even before you're, 30 years old or whatever, and by a ton of money, I'm, somewhere between 20 and 50,000 or something, man, that'll just now grow from the time you're 30 to 60 for 30 years. And even if you didn't put another dime in there, you will just be ecstatic that you did that when you get to 60 or 65. And now if you keep continuing to do it, you'll just be set. So again, I think the key is getting in the habit of doing it. But yes, Maria, a Roth IRA is a tremendous idea. The younger you are, the better. As you get older, you start, you can put money into a Roth, and if you're not going to take it for 10 or 15 or 20 years, I think that's great because you allow that to grow. The big thing, obviously, with a Roth is that you have growth because it's going to grow tax-free. So it's got to be in something that's going to grow. But a Roth is a big deal, especially the younger you are. Yeah, start doing it. Even if it's a little bit each year, just do it. And use modern technology to help you. So I always tell folks, use things to automate stuff. So it's set, it's done, it's out of sight, it's out of mind. And then it just kind of starts happening like clockwork. And pretty soon you'll be like, whoa, wow, how did I do that? So it works out great. Any other questions? I got a question. I'm just wondering, Chase, what's going on is this your house or you at work with I want to work out. I'm feeling kind of sleepy and tired at the moment. And I'm just going, dang, Chase is fit.
That's the good part. I am both at work and at my house. So this side of the room is my office space, and then I got my home gym behind me.
Oh, nice. Are you a trainer?
Nope.
No.
Not at all.
Just for you only.
Just for me and my family only.
Man, I need to get that in my office. That would
right.
I it.
This is just a virtual background. Don't mind this. This is just virtual background.
Oh, all right.
That's great.
It's a good virtual background because it makes me think of exercise.
It's a Good prompt.
Well, any others? Todd, maybe you can run through your.
Well, just quickly, we wanted to thank everybody, all the employees, university employees for letting us do this and be part of these presentations. We love being part of the Wellness Challenge and sponsoring that each year. We think it's a great thing. And one thing we want to make sure is that as you're staying physically fit, that you're financially fit as well. And so we just wanted to let you know that as employees of the U, that you are eligible for our Exclusively for You product.
Oh, here, I'll stop sharing. Sorry, I'm probably.
Can you see it now?
Oh, there you go. Yeah, you're good. Sorry.
Anyway, it's just
That was
got a
on.
number of products that we offer, some increases on certificates, 5 times the reward points on our credit card, 0.25% off on mortgage origination fees. That could save you a lot of money right there. And you're eligible just by being an employee of the U. It's benefits that we offer U of U employees only, just for being part of the family. So if you are interested in signing up with the credit union or have any questions, you can reach Marie Wade. She's the Campus Store Branch Manager. Her phone number's on there and her email as well. So let us know if there's anything we can do to help you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Todd. And thank you, Brett. It looks like Valerie asked a question in chat. She asked, are there any specials on car loans right now? My daughter, who is a fall U of U student, just bought a car. How exciting.
No, I know we're as low as 2.49 right now. So if the rate is higher, we can look at that. So
Awesome. That's a really good interest rate.
Yeah.
Oh, she said we already financed with you, but I forgot the rate.
Hey, thanks, Valerie.
Valerie's the best.
Valerie is awesome.
Cool. Okay, well, again, thank you, Brett, for coming. We will provide your contact information that will get sent out with this video so that people can get in touch with you and ask you all of the questions about retiring. And then as well, thanks to Todd and Marie, I will put your contact information in there as well so that if people have financing questions, they know where to go. But yeah, thank you guys again, and I hope everyone has a great rest of their Wednesday.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.